Alrighty, what's up, ladies? Welcome back to the Sacred Sister Circle podcast. This is episode 2, and the juicy topic that we have today is all about healing for the soul. It's all about hypnotherapy. We got my good sis who's going to give us so much wisdom and so much insight on how we can heal, be better, be more in alignment with our higher selves. So, welcome back to the Sacred Sister Circle podcast. I am so glad to have you here. If you haven't done so already, make sure you go check out episode 1. We are just going to keep building on top of these powerful spiritual concepts. So, without further ado, let's hop into episode 2. First, I want to take the time to just say thank you and to welcome my good sis, Neoshi, Hypno Soul, the queen of hypnotherapy, past life regression, entity releasement. I mean, my sis is just the person you need when you are trying to do that deep spiritual work that is not so common. Okay. And so Neoshi has been that person for us. And I'm just so glad to have you on, Neoshi. And I also want to say thank you because, first of all, I've met Phyla through you, Keisha through you, and both of those ladies are just beautiful, and we just have such a beautiful connection. But also, just how you always show up in spaces, Neoshi, full of love, ready to serve, ready to support, no ego. And I just love and appreciate that so much. So thank you for being you. Thank you for connecting me with some beautiful women. And thank you for serving in your purpose. Say hey to the family, Neoshi.
Hey y'all, and thank you so much for that warm welcome.
Yes, I'm super
Appreciate it.
excited.
Yeah. Let's
I'm
chat.
super excited. Girl Neoshi, I was up last night thinking about this conversation, excited about this conversation,
Mhm.
and just grateful for how spirit just moves things and connects you with people that you would never like. I don't even know how we met. I think I saw you online and I just reached out and was like, what you do is captivating and
Mhm.
powerful. And I believe I invited you on to Sunday service when we were doing
Yeah,
that.
it was,
And
yeah.
that was so great. Neil,
Yeah.
should tell the family what you do. You
Well,
explain it to them.
okay. So I'm a clinical and transpersonal hypnotherapist. I work with men and women. Well, I always say men and a few brave men. Excuse me, women and a few brave men who are on the journey to heal their soul, break through blockages, and align with their divine purpose. And I say a few brave men because most men, we've been taught um, it's weak. It's a weakness to be in your emotions,
Mhm.
to be vulnerable. So, yeah, it's for the brave.
Yeah.
But like I said, I work with those people who are on a journey to heal their soul, break through blockages, and align with their divine purpose. And I do that through my hypnotherapy sessions, where we look for the root cause of the situations that they're going through,
Mm.
help them bring whatever that they're dealing with to the surface. We basically use hypnosis to tap into the subconscious mind, to find that root cause, bring it to the surface, help them resolve it, and so that they move forward feeling better about what was happening before, or whatever the situation was. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so deep. And the question that just came to my mind last night as I was preparing for our build was, is it necessary for people to experience that hypnotherapy for that deep soul healing? And of course, I want to hear your opinion. But, from my perspective,
Mhm.
it is. However, you can get into it, you got to get into it. So, you explain to the people why hypnotherapy is so powerful when it comes to soul healing, from your line of work.
Well, because with the hypnotherapy, of course, like I talked about, the tool being hypnosis. With hypnosis, the whole purpose of hypnosis is to um, tap into the subconscious mind, to get past that
Mhm.
analytical mind that we're using on a daily, right? The one that we're using right now when we conversate. Um,
Mm,
Getting past that critical factor of the mind and tapping into that subconscious mind is where
mm,
all of the suppressed or repressed memories, emotions,
mm,
fears, you name it, anxieties, things that traumas that we've never held, that we've been sweeping
mm,
under the rug or ignoring. And that's where all those things are held. And in order to access them, to change them, because all change is made at subconscious level, right? Any lasting
mm.
change is made at subconscious level. In order
Yeah.
to change them, we have to get to them and find out what the root cause of those are, what
Mm.
happened there, and identify what emotions, what beliefs that are attached to those, so that we can transform them, and again, so that you can move forward in a better way.
Yeah, because a lot of times we're just dealing with stuff on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we're just doing symptomatic healing. A lot of times we're just dealing with the symptoms and not really getting down to the root, like you said, and to the cause of things. And when we don't deal with the cause and the root, we stay on this hamster wheel of trying to fix, trying to fix, trying to heal, trying to transform.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this from experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
In my own life. Oh, here's a beautiful example that definitely segue into your work. I thought that my need for validation and my need for approval and acceptance, specifically from men,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that that just came from that father abandonment wound. But as I worked with you and I did the past life regression, and I kept meditating on what I saw in my past life regression, I
Mm-hmm.
realized that that abandonment wound stemmed from before even in this lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
It was deeper than that. And
Mm-hmm.
finally, when I went and talked to that past self, which was an old Asian man, when I went to go talk to him, who's also me, I was just like, I had to help that part of myself understand that there's more to life and that we're divinely supported. Even
Mhm,
if I didn't have physical family around me, there was always nature and animals and plants and the moon and
right,
ancestors and spirit guides that were always supporting me, even if in this lifetime, for example, my father wasn't there. I
right.
still had that divine masculine presence that was always in my life. So the healing is very deep. And once I really healed that cause, which stemmed from prior to even being Desiree D. Ray Wise,
Mhm,
once I healed that, now the abandonment is not what it used to be. Now I'm like, okay, I can fully be who I am. I can embrace who I am, and I don't have to seek validation or approval or love from anything or anyone outside of me because I've always had
mhm,
everything that I needed.
mhm. Facts, facts. And you can look at
Mm,
it from now that you're aware of it, you can look at it from uh, look at it from a different perspective, not
mm,
from, the place of hurt, or not from a place
right.
of abandonment, but from what it really was, and not just for what it
Mm,
was for you, but for what it was for everybody involved, right? So it's different
mm,
perspectives.
mm.
So yeah, most definitely. Definitely,
You
definitely.
know what? And what you're saying is so true because what I realized is that within that experience, I needed to learn the lesson one, that I'm wholly on my own.
Mhm,
Like as an and so it really helped me to understand this individualism, but also oneness. Like within my being
mhm,
is everything and everyone.
mhm,
And because that's how we were created and designed in this life, there's really no such thing as abandonment.
mhm,
And matter
mhm,
of fact, Neoshi, I don't know if you remember this, when we did our session, my father's energy actually came through.
mhm,
And I was actually able to talk to him, and he's still alive, family. Let's be clear, he's still alive.
mhm,
But I was able to really understand who he was, why he was, and I was able to remove that like that victim, my father wronged me energy. I was able to set him free, and I was
mhm,
actually able to set me free.
mhm.
I mean?
Mhm.
So tell me about your personal experience with something like that, to where past life regression or even hypnosis allowed you to be set free from an old belief, emotion, or like victim mentality.
So it's funny that you use your father as an example because that brought back some work that I did within myself. Um, so I, I know how to put myself into hypnosis.
Oh,
I know how to
really?
find the
Wow.
root. I know how to do the work that I do with my clients with myself. I know how to
Beautiful.
go through that whole process within myself. So one day
Mm,
I was doing that. I forget what was happening. It might have been something. Usually I do that when I feel something stirring within me and I can't figure out
mm,
put out what it is. And so I might have felt it in a
mm,
particular area of my body. And I think it was in my stomach. And I was like, okay, let me just lay back and see what this is, you know.
mm,
And so I laid back, put myself into a state of hypnosis and started to really like channel, figure out what that was.
mm,
So I realized it was, an emotion of, uh, that was connected to my father, who's
mm,
still alive as well.
mhm.
Thank God.
Thank
Um,
God, right? Gratitude. Thank you. Mm,
um, and, it took me back feeling that emotion, it took me back to a memory when I was younger. I was, like, 14, 15 years old, and
mm,
I was feeling like I just couldn't do anything right. You know, my father is, of course, he's one
mm,
of those people who was like, "You gotta do things this way. You gotta do it this way. Don't do it the way you think
mm,
you wanna do it. Do it the way I tell you to do it."
mm,
Right?
mm,
And I was started tapping into feeling like there was some just feeling like, those the belief of I can't do anything right, or
mm,
I have to do it a certain way. Just feeling anxiety around doing things a particular way, like whenever I had to do something. And
mhm,
so I started to when that memory came to me, I started to see it replay that memory in my head visual like vividly. I was at my old house with my father. We're outside. It was something with the car. We were next to the car, and I don't remember what it was. It was like he was telling me to do something, but he wanted me to do it in a particular way, and I couldn't
mm.
understand why. Like, I can do it. Let me do it the way I want to do it. Why I got to do it the way you want me to do it? See, trauma a lot of times isn't like very like it doesn't have to be something major. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
It can be
yeah.
things that are just what you consider small, like someone said something you to put in a particular way and made you
Mm,
feel a certain way about yourself.
mhm,
Things of that nature. So
mhm.
this wasn't something that was major, like a major quote unquote trauma for me. But it was something that was affecting me and that was kind of
Yeah,
running in the background of my life. And it was, causing
mm,
me to live in a certain way.
yeah.
And so as I'm there, I get emotional. I'm literally crying on the bed by myself in my room because I'm playing
Mm,
this scene back. Um, and then as I identify the emotions I'm dealing with, I identify the beliefs I'm holding on to, and then I start to have a conversation. I see my dad there, and I just start to have a conversation with him. And
mm.
and at the moment, what was shown to me was my father didn't grow up with a father. He didn't
Ah,
have a
mhm,
father figure, right? He made a lot of
mhm,
mistakes that one in particular that landed him in jail at one point for a very
mhm,
serious crime that he didn't commit, but because
mhm.
uh, he made that mistake, he was fearful of his children making that same, not the same mistake, but making a mistake that would cause them to be in a certain position. And so I
Right.
realized at that moment, from his perspective, it's not that he was trying to control me and tell me what he wanted me to do, and I had to do it his way. It was his fear of if I don't make sure that they do this in a certain way, it could cause them to have a situation that they don't want, and that was a big
Right.
fear for him. So he was
Right.
operating from a place of fear when he
Mm, mhm,
do it this way. I'm telling you, do it this way.
mhm,
Don't do it that way.
mhm,
Do it right because again, he never grew up with a father figure. He didn't have a father in his life, but he was
mm,
stunt on. He was very, focused on. I'm going to be in my children's life, of course. My parents are still married to this day, but
beautiful.
he's always been big on his
Mhm,
children being together. Even from his first marriage, children, you guys are brothers and sisters, stay together, love each other, et cetera, et cetera. So he was
mhm,
because he didn't have that in his life, and because he'd made mistakes because he didn't have that in his life. Uh,
Mm.
he wanted to protect us from that, right? So
Yeah.
it was fear, and he was
Yeah.
using that protection was do it as I told you to do it in this way, right?
Mm.
And in that moment, I felt compassion for him,
Yes.
right? Because
Mm.
he showed me a part of himself. This is what was really going on. I was perceiving
Wow.
it in this way, but that's not what it was. That was my
Mm.
experience. That was my perspective, but that wasn't really what
Yeah.
it was, right?
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
I was able to make peace with that one. And now when whenever I think of that, I remember, oh no, this it was just him trying to help and protect me. I don't have
Yeah.
to feel that way. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
so I was able to release all of that that I was carrying on to. And whenever
Mhm.
I have that memory or I'm reminded of that situation, I remember what it really was, not what
Yeah.
I perceived it as, right?
Ooh, hoo, hoo, yes. I felt so much love as you were telling that story. And I just applaud you, Neoshi, for overcoming those challenges, because feeling like you have to do things in a certain way or be a certain type of person to reach
Mhm.
success or to be happy and to be healthy, and shifting your perspective and having compassion and empathy for yourself and finding your flow, finding your purpose, finding your way
Mhm.
of self-expression is such a powerful healing thing. And as you were speaking, I just felt so much love come over my being as you told that story. So thank you so much for sharing that, because we have to understand as spiritual beings, but specifically as spiritual women, because that's who this podcast is for.
Mhm.
We have to understand that perception and reality are very funny things, because some I heard, oh girl Neoshi, funny story. My sister-in-law,
Mhm.
we don't have the best relationship, right? I tried. Listen, y'all, I'm just telling y'all the truth.
Mhm.
I tried to put my best foot forward in that relationship and show up sisterly and lovingly and all of those things like that. But sometimes personalities just don't mesh. And you know
Mhm.
what I mean? We got to be real about that. Ladies,
Mhm.
be real about that. There are
Yeah.
some personalities that just won't blend well together, and that's okay. But
Mhm.
my sister-in-law, she said to me with conviction, right? We were having a little debacle, right?
Mhm.
She said to me, Neoshi, perception is reality. Oh, and y'all. And she said it with so much conviction, like she just knew what the hell she was talking about. And I'm like, yeah, no, perception is not reality. Okay. Perception is projection. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
Shout out to one of my Sacred Sister Circle
Facts.
members who said that once in one of our sessions. She was like, perception is projection, not necessarily reality.
Mhm.
But that's so true. The way that we are perceiving things is what we make our reality to be. It's not fact.
Mhm.
Boo.
Right.
And I
Exactly.
think once we can start being like, okay, I don't have to perceive this situation in a limiting, debilitating, draining, unhealthy way for myself.
Mhm.
I can perceive this situation as serving me. And so you were able, in that situation with your father, you were able to say, you know what? My dad was protecting me.
Mhm.
That was his form of love, with him trying to guide me and telling me a specific way to do something. And I
Mhm.
feel like all of us have experiences like that with people that we love, whether it's our mother or our father, where their expression of love we perceived as control. This was
Mhm.
a big healing thing for me when it came
Mhm.
down to my mother. I used to feel, y'all, like my mother was so controlling, so controlling. But
Mhm.
what I realized is that she just loved deeply.
Mhm.
And she had a perception in her mind of how her children, how her only daughter was going to thrive, going to be successful, and was going to have the life that she wants me to have, which is a life
Mhm.
of love, health, abundance,
Mhm.
beauty.
Mhm.
And because she wants that for me, sometimes that love could turn into control.
Mm-hmm.
because she didn't understand, okay, let me let Desiree figure this out on her own. Or
Mm-hmm.
this is the time where, as a mother, I step in and I give her that support and guidance.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it still stems from love.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because we all, the thing is, and I'm sure you learn that as a parent now, because I'm learning that as a parent too.
Yeah.
As parents, we only have certain tools. We only have the tools that we were given, right? And
Mm-hmm.
although the tools that we were given may not be the best tools to deal with whatever situations that come up, it's what we got. So we just use what we
Mm.
got. And, so not to say that the tools that we were given are going to be, you know, um, I guess you could say quality or the type of tools that will be necessary that won't something that's not going to how do I say like let me just say this, whenever I'm dealing with my children, I always try to step back and say, wait, this tool that I'm about to use, is this gonna, I don't want to cause trauma to them. Is this gonna cause
Mhm.
trauma? I know where I'm
Mhm.
coming from. I know what I'm really trying to do, but I don't want to do it in a
Mm.
way where it causes trauma. So the
Mhm.
tools that we have, sometimes they cause trauma without us knowing, but
Yeah.
our intent is it doesn't come from that place. So
Mm.
that's a big help when you look at it from that perspective of, yeah, maybe
Mhm.
they didn't do it in the best way and the way they did it was harmful, but their intentions were, well, like they had good intentions. So does
Yeah.
that make them evil, mean,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this evil person? No, it just makes them, that's what they had, and that's all they knew how to use, right? Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. And the even beautiful and spiritual part about it that I love that your work shows us is that we choose these parents.
Mm-hmm.
Your mother, your father, and even your children choosing you for a specific sole purpose. I vividly remember in our session where we went back to a past life, and I was able to see my son. I was able to connect with his soul in that past life regression. Y'all are gonna hit up Neoshi after this. Some of y'all have
Mm-hmm.
already been to her, but spread the word because it's just so amazing. But
Mm-hmm.
I was able to connect with his energy in that past life, and I knew it was him. I was like, "Oh, you're coming to me again? We're doing this again?" And I was so, it made me so grateful. And I'm glad that I just remembered that. So
Mm-hmm.
now, as I'm loving on him and nurturing him, I can remember, like, oh, we've been doing this and we're
Right.
just here to deepen it. I really think in this lifetime, specifically for my son and I, we're just deepening that level of acceptance,
Mm-hmm.
right? Me accepting him for who he is, him accepting me for who I am. A
Mm-hmm.
deeper level of acceptance and a deeper level of love. But it's such a beautiful thing. We choose our parents because they're going to give us a specific lesson that our
Mm-hmm.
soul is craving and
Right.
that our soul is needing. So it's a beautiful thing. So if y'all haven't already, definitely you need to go to a past life regression party. I love that. Or get you a one-on-one session with Neoshi. All of her information is going to be in the description of both the Apple podcast and this YouTube video. Neoshi, please explain psychosomatic.
Okay. So psychosomatic is just issues that um, stem from the mind, physical issues that you think have a physical cause, but they're really stemming from something from the mind. So again, emotions,
Mm,
repressed or suppressed emotions or beliefs, memories that you haven't healed or resolved
mm.
is likely. It's usually when you're and unexplained and you can't figure out physically what's happening. The doctors don't know what's going on. It's likely a psychosomatic situation.
So, everything you talk about, like I have experience with. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you. Thank you that I get to be a real life testimony here.
Mhm,
So, back in 2020, I don't know if I even told you about this, Neoshi.
mhm,
Back in 2020, I started feeling like a lot of tingling in my shoulder, all down my shoulder, tingling, tingling, tingling.
mhm,
And I was so concerned. I went to the doctor. I got an x ray on my shoulder from like all the way up here, down my back. The
mhm,
doctor says, I don't see anything. There's no inflammation, no pinched nerve, nothing like that is actually happening. So maybe you just need to correct your posture,
Mhm.
ice it, do those things, but I see nothing wrong.
Mhm.
So Miss Blue, shout out to Miss Blue. She will actually be a guest on the Sacred Sister Circle podcast in the near future. Shout out to her. I come online with her and I'm talking. I'm like, Miss Blue, I got this tingling in my shoulder. Went to the doctor. They saying they don't know what it is.
Mhm.
And Miss Blue says, oh, your energetic armor is too heavy.
Mhm.
She said, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, we all have an armor, or what we even call our aura, right? Or
Mhm.
even think about in the church times when they say, put on the armor of God.
Right.
So we all have that armor. And sometimes we don't let anything penetrate our armor, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes we don't let anything penetrate our aura or make us feel any type of way. And
Mhm.
so she was like, I'm reading your energy and you're not letting love or hate penetrate your armor. And
You
so
ain't letting nothing through.
you ain't letting nothing through. And so she said, girl, so you just have stuff just stacking on top of your energetic armor,
Mhm.
causing that tingling, and you're feeling it on the physical level.
Mhm.
Now, this was so divine because at the time I was working on being able to receive criticism. How many of y'all know women don't like to be told what to
Child.
do, how they can be better? We don't like that, right? We don't
Mhm.
like that. So at the time it was funny because Dream and I were always having conversations and he, come on, babe, you can do this, you can do this. And I was just like, I'm not trying to hear all of that from you. And so I wouldn't let that penetrate my aura. And do
Mhm.
you know, once I said, okay, let me just hear what he's saying. Let me just receive what he's saying. Let me open up and receive. Once I started to let him and even other people in more, and it's been a consistent work in progress, okay? Didn't happen overnight. Actually, up until this point, I'm still working on it, right? But
Mhm.
once I was like, okay, let me receive him because he's one person, one soul, one being that I know for sure truly loves me. And so if he's
Mhm.
giving me something, it's in love. And though I may not like it, though it may not be what I want to hear, it's
Mhm.
still coming from a place of love. So let me open up that armor to receive it.
Mhm.
And so I had to stop getting triggered. I had to control that mental emotional habit of like tightening up when somebody had something to say about me. And I just had to accept the fact that anybody's opinion of me is not necessarily a reflection of me. That's one, it's a
Mhm.
reflection of them. And if they give me something that I feel could be valuable to me, then I could use it. But doing that eased the pain and the irritation of my shoulder.
Mhm.
Psychosomatic.
Mhm. Yep.
So how do you help people with that whenever y'all are working together?
So again, it goes back to finding the root cause of that. So just to use your example, I would look into find out, well, where'd that come from?
Mhm.
Why do you feel like you're unable to take criticism? Like where'd that stem
Uh,
from? What experience
uh,
did that come from? That's something from
yeah,
childhood, that's something from a past life. Like where's
yeah.
that coming from? Right? So we
Mm,
find the root cause of it
mhm,
again so that we can bring it to the surface and
mhm.
resolve it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what I have found out? I actually found out that the inability to accept criticism is a byproduct of abandonment. Our minds are so complex and it's so you can't just figure these things out. You have to be okay with things not making sense for it to make sense.
Mhm.
And so what I realized is that the issue that I had with accepting criticism was if I accept criticism, then that means something is wrong with me or something is wrong with what I did or what I said or how I'm behaving. And if
Mhm.
I did or said something wrong, there's a possibility that I will be abandoned. And
Mm.
so I would fight criticism to prove that what I did or what I said was not wrong and was actually right. So I would try to convince the other person that what I said and what I did
To
was
death.
right to protect myself, Neoshi, to
Fear of
protect
abandonment.
myself
Yes.
from the possibility of being abandoned.
Hmm. That fear. That's that fear of abandonment for sure.
Yeah, you can't make that up. Nobody's going to
Mm-mm.
just consciously say, okay, I'm going to overprove. I'm going to over make sure that they know that I'm good and I'm well.
Mhm.
You're doing that for a reason.
It's a program. It's a program that's running that, from your experience. I don't want to experience that no more. I don't want to feel that abandonment anymore. So I'm going to do whatever I need to do to make sure I don't experience that no more. So if I got to prove these people to let them know that you're wrong and I'm right and there's
Yes,
nothing wrong with me,
yes, yes.
we're good. Yeah. Yeah.
It's so good though, but it's like that on so many, and in so many ways. It could
Mhm.
be rejection or fear
Mhm.
or jealousy, envy,
Oh, yeah.
procrastination,
Uh-huh.
indecision.
Mhm.
All of these things people think are just minute, small things. Oh, girl, that's just my personality.
That's the way I am, child. Mm.
That's just who I am, girl. Girl, I've been like that since I was a kid.
Mhm.
Girl, we got to really ask ourselves, is that state of being in alignment with who you desire to be?
Mhm.
And what I realized for me is that I have to put myself out there to be judged and to be criticized if I want to be who I desire to be.
Mhm.
That's just a part of
Facts.
the game.
Facts.
That's just a part of the process. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Facts.
So that's beautiful. Tell me if you can think of a crazy psychosomatic situation that you were able to help someone decode and release.
So let me say this. Sometimes the psychosomatic symptoms are attached to what you mentioned earlier, spirit attachments.
Okay.
But it also relates in the very same way. So spirit attachments come in different forms. It can be, the soul of a um, person who was here before, who died and never left, never went to the light, right?
Mm-hmm.
Stayed around, we call them ghosts, right? Spirits.
Mm-hmm.
Or it can just be different aspects of even extraterrestrial, or just mind fragments of someone else, or like literally any type of energy that you can think of that can exist within this realm or other realms. They can
Right,
attach to you, right?
right.
So sometimes we'll find the energy of someone who's deceased
Mm-hmm.
attached. And when they attach, they usually bring their own emotions and things of that nature. But they're only able to attach because the person they attached to was already vibrating at that same frequency. They were
Like
already
attract
being with
like.
exactly. And
Mm.
so they when they attach, of course, they will, intensify whatever emotion that was there. They will intensify it even more and even bring in their own shit on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's I can't think of one in particular, so I'll just be very general right now. But
Mm-hmm.
whenever we find, let's say, someone's dealing with something, let's say, there's a part of my sessions where we do what I call a body scan. We'll scan the
Okay.
physical body, the energetic body, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes there will be something that's found in a certain part of the body. When we find it in that certain part of the body, there's usually an emotion that's attached to that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
whether it's just the energy itself of fear or hate or anger or sadness, whatever, or if it's something more like a spirit attachment, I'll speak with that energy to find out why it's there, what energy is carrying there, how it's influencing my client. And then once we find that out, once we're able to convince that energy that you don't need to be there any longer, you're causing
Mm-hmm.
issues, you need to go.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's easier than others. Some are ready to go. Others aren't
Right.
ready to go. They need a little bit more convincing.
Mhm.
But when they do leave, once we're able to help them leave, we have them take all of that energy that they have with them, whatever emotions, beliefs, etc. Take it with them when they leave. Whatever issue physically that they were causing, whether it be pain, ringing in the ears, migraines, whatever, numbness, tingling, whatever you name it, as soon as that energy is gone, whatever physical ailments, issues that we were causing, gone like that as well. So
Mhm.
that's just an example, a very general example.
Wow. So how did you even get into that work? Because that's intense work. It
Mhm.
really is. And it takes a certain level of it takes a certain mind, it takes
Mhm.
a certain level of presence, and it takes a certain level of spiritual power to be able to one call out an entity, energy, or attachment. Like I
Mhm.
see you. You know what I mean? Like that's real shit, Neoshi.
Right.
I see you. And
Right.
and we be seeing you, okay? We be seeing all of these different energies and entities that try to pop up in certain places and places.
Mhm.
It takes a certain level of spiritual power and fortitude and strength to
Mhm.
do that. So how did you even get into that? And how do you stay strengthened as you are helping people to release these attachments?
Mhm. So, if you're referring to how I got into the work itself, is that what you're
Yeah.
asking?
Yeah.
Long story, but I'm gonna keep it short.
Mhm.
It wasn't it wasn't even me who realized that I was supposed to be doing this work. Like it wasn't. I never considered the work until my husband was like, "Hey," pointed it out to me, like, "You would be great at
Wow.
this."
Mm.
But long story short, I was on my own journey of trying to find out my purpose in life, and went through, a lot of shadow work. I was doing shadow work before I even know or knew it was called shadow work, before
Mhm.
anybody was calling it shadow work, right? I
Mhm.
was doing that work on myself because I knew it needed to be done. I was going through some shit, and I knew that I just had to resolve it. Like I
Yeah.
can't get to where I want to be without resolving it.
Mhm.
And I've always been a person who've always felt like I knew I was here for a reason. The spirit sent me here for a reason, that I was supposed to be doing something um, that aligns with my purpose career wise. I didn't know what
Mhm.
that was. And
Mhm.
so, um, not to go into too detail, but I started studying different things, religions, things of that nature, astrology, looking into that, and using those as tools, trying to help me find my purpose,
Your
right?
thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Astrology, numerology, all those things, right?
Mhm.
And then I stumbled upon one day walking in a library, and I was with my children. And I have to tell it this way because it just shows the synchronicities of everything. When you do the work, things will unfold the way
Mm.
they need to.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
I'm walking one day in the library, and there's this book laying out on the side, like sticking out, one of the books that fall over,
Mhm.
and it's not aligned with all the other books. So I'm
Mhm.
walking in the path, and Spirit's just like, just flip the book up, just just flip it up, put it back into space.
Yeah.
So I go to flip the book up, put it back into space, and I'm curious, so I'm like, "What book is this?" Curious, I'm look at the name of what is it, and I look
Yeah.
at it, and it's a book about past life regression, past lives. I don't
Ah.
really remember which book it was particularly, but it might have been like a Dr. Wise book or something of that nature.
Mhm.
And I was just like, this is interesting, So of course I pull the book, I check it out, I go read it, and I'm fascinated with it.
Mm.
And then I started checking out other books and just reading and finding, oh, there's other books like this and this stuff. Like this is fascinating. And so a little while later, I ended up stumbling upon a video on YouTube of this woman who's doing these sessions and
Mm.
past lives and things of that nature. And I was just blown away because I was just like, first I was like, nah, this lady got to be making this shit up. Who's she paying these people to do this? Like, what's the no,
Right. Right.
no,
Right.
And
Love
but
it.
I'm watching the videos and I'm like, and the more I'm watching them, and I'm like, nah, these people can't be making this up. This person damn sure don't look like they're some good ass
Right.
actors, you know.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
like, she
Right.
paying all these people to like,
They
I
need to
don't
be on in
understand.
Hollywood.
Right. And so I kind of got to the point where I was watching these videos. I shared them with my husband. I was like, yo, this is crazy. And he's watching it and he's like, yo, this is
Mm.
amazing. And
Mm.
I got to the point where I'm watching these videos morning, afternoon, evening. One night I'm making dinner and watching the video again.
Mm.
And my husband was like, you would be really good at this. You should do this. And I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I don't know. And he's like, yeah, I think you'd be really, really good at this. You should look into it. And so I'm like, I don't know.
Uh-huh.
So later that evening, I think I laid down. I was just kind of like, I don't know, my parents gonna be thinking I'm crazy,
Mm.
just thinking about what everybody else is gonna be thinking. My
Yeah.
parents, they're like, it's very, very, we were raised in the church,
Yeah.
They're still very much heavily Christian. And
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, they're gonna be looking at me like, what are you talking about? Past lives and these dealing with these spirits and stuff. Girl, you better go sit down somewhere for the spirit, something
Right.
possess you and all this other stuff,
Right. Right.
And so I almost let my fears talk me out of not doing it. But spirit was like,
Mm.
listen, you cannot live for everybody else. You can't.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
parents will be fine. If they're not, they'll come around. If they don't,
Mm.
you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you just have to live like you've been saying you wanna, walk in your purpose. Do what we're telling you to do. This is the next step. Do it.
Mm. Mm.
And um I did it afraid, long story
Oh,
short,
oh,
to
wow.
the point where I was like, "Okay, let's see what happens."
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, that fear of my parents are probably gonna disown me or something, because
Mm.
that's not how I was raised. Although I had
Mm-hmm.
been in the church for years, I don't consider myself a Christian of that nature or anything. I was more
Mm-hmm.
spiritual. Again, my relationship with my parents was just my concern.
Mm-hmm.
Um I ended up doing the work, and my parents became, one of my number one supporters, to the point where, like, my mom would be sharing my videos. Oh my God, look what she did, da, da, da. And even
Wow.
to the point where my dad was like, one day, was like, I think I need a session. And I was like, what?
Ooh, I love
Okay.
that. I
We went,
love
yeah.
that.
He went from, girl, you ain't getting in my mind, to, I need a session. I was like, that's what's up. That's what's up. So,
Wow.
it just speaks to the fact of, you doing what you know you're supposed to be doing, not worrying
Mm.
about, concerning yourself about what somebody else is going to think, not living for somebody else, but living for what you know you're here to do. And so, yeah,
Mm.
that is the long story short version of it.
And it's still
Yeah.
so beautiful. So,
Yeah.
how do you keep yourself empowered as you are doing such a powerful work? Because I know that these spirits, these entities, these attachments, whether it's like the emotion of shame,
Mhm.
guilt, jealousy, I know that thought forms, they don't want to go.
Yeah.
Entities, spirit attachments, they don't want to go nowhere.
Most of
And
them,
so
yeah.
they could be combative to you, this facilitator who is supporting people
Mhm.
and coming back into the fullness of who they are. So how do you keep yourself protected and strengthened in that work?
I always say my number one protection is doing my work first, my own personal work, right? Because if
Mm,
I'm not healing myself, if I'm vibrating on a low frequency, then that allows myself to be, vulnerable to those energies. But as
yeah.
long as I continue my work, I do my work, I stay on a vibrational level um that protects me, I'm protected. But of course, I always do other things outside of that. It just really depends on where I'm at a particular day, and what I might feel like I need to do at that moment.
Mm, mm,
What I might need at that moment. Sometimes it can be something as simple as, like, after a session, I'll go outside and I'll just allow myself to ground,
right.
be in nature, sit out. Or sometimes I'll do my sage, or I might do my crystals, or maybe sometimes I'll just take me a nice little a spiritual bath, or get me some massage therapy. And the more recent thing that I've added is Reiki. I love Reiki. I tried it
Mm,
the other day with
mm,
a friend of
mm,
mine here in Atlanta, and
mm,
it was dope. Yeah,
mm.
yeah.
So just always making sure, one, that you're doing your spiritual work. And I think that's a testament for everybody,
Mhm,
even when we're just engaging with people, it's important that we keep our vibration at a certain place so that we
mhm.
are not infiltrated by these energies. You know what I mean? I
Right,
know
right.
we all go through certain experiences like sexual abuse or depression and any form of abuse, really, loss of a job. Like there's so many
Mhm,
things that can happen in our human reality
mhm,
that could cause us to stay in a low vibration, right?
mhm, mhm,
And depending on what it is, for example, like a sexual abuse experience,
mhm,
um, which I've had, and I've also helped a lot of women to heal their wounds and clear their wounds from that experience.
mhm,
But what I know is that when that happens, so many people at the times that it happened, whether they were children or even young adults, like in college, you don't
mhm.
have those resources of knowing how to purge, purify, cleanse the womb,
Right.
yoni eggs, yoni steaming, womb massages, mental alchemy, spiritual alchemy, right? You
Mhm.
don't have those things.
Mhm.
So what I'm understanding right now is based on what the experience is, or based on what the emotion is, that's where the entity will attach, or that's
Mhm.
where this low vibrational emotion will attach. So specifically guilt and shame, they really
Mhm.
reside in that root chakra, sacral chakra area.
Mhm.
And it manifests as forms of pain, or a lack of pleasure, or
Mhm.
a lack of sexual energy, or libido, or creative energy, or being able to manifest, and things like that. It's a really real thing,
Mhm.
you know? So maintaining our spiritual practice is so very important. And unashamed, I'm going to tell y'all right now, the Sacred Sister Circle membership is opening up this month. First session takes place on March 20th. If you need accountability, and you need to understanding how to do your spiritual work, when you should be doing specific work that aligns with the season, because when you do things seasonally, you have
Mhm.
that added divine sacred support. If that's something that you are interested in, make sure you hit the link in my bio, sign up to join the Sacred Sister Circle community so you can stay up to date on that stuff. Okay? But yeah, like if you don't have those skills and those resources,
Mhm.
it's like you are just fair ground, not
Mhm.
just for an entity or like a spirit, but for thought forms, for
Mhm.
low vibrations, for
Mhm.
crime, for
Mhm.
accidents, and for all of those things to happen.
Mhm. Right. Facts. Facts.
Yeah. I feel like your vibration is a form of protection.
It is. It certainly is, because it's like being on two different radio stations, like, or tuning into one
Mm,
radio channel, one station to another. Like, if you're in one channel, you're not gonna hear what's on another channel. You're only gonna hear
mm.
what's on the channel that you're listening to. So if
This
you're
is true.
vibrating at the same frequency of those low vibrational energies, they're damn sure gonna make themselves available, and they might just come and take advantage of the energy that you're vibrating at. So yeah.
So with that, and you can add to this sentiment, but I believe that if you can dedicate yourself to the work, and then I would also say through things like fasting, right?
Mhm.
Separating yourself from certain actions, from
Mhm.
certain foods, from certain programs, and things like that, you can
Mhm.
actually purge these entities, or these thought forms, or these addictions, because you're no longer on that frequency, and you sustained this new frequency.
Mhm.
You've done the work, right? So like when we fast, or when we say, you know what, I'm going to cut that out of my life,
Mhm.
that entity, or that thought form, or that addiction, or that unhealthy habit may be attached to that thing.
Right.
Here's a great example that spirit is giving me right now. Let's say sweets, eating cakes and candy and stuff like that. Let's say a person experienced some level of abuse, and to comfort themselves, they
Mhm.
started eating a lot of cakes, a lot of sweets, and things like that. They think it's them, but really it's that thought form, of that entity, of that energy
Right.
that's telling them to eat that. No, KJ, that is tell. Yes. Excuse me, everybody who will listen to this podcast and who will watch this video. I'm still a mother, and though this kid has been informed, that's my boy. I said acceptance. I said acceptance earlier. So
Right.
you know what? Thank you, baby. Thank you. Okay. So really you think that, oh no, I just like cakes, and I just like brownies, and I just like Reese's, and I just like these things. But then you
Mm.
realize that your body is not in agreement with it. And then you
Mhm.
say, you know what? I'm going to cut sweets out of my life. That's going to be a battle,
Mhm.
because your mind and your body is going to be screaming, yearning and craving for that thing. But when
Mhm.
you tell yourself no, and you detach from that, the entity, the energy, the thought form, the emotion that you may have adopted that lifestyle with will also be purged from your being. Is that
Mhm.
something that you would agree, or is there value you can add on to that?
Most definitely. I'll give you a good example of that sweet again.
Mm.
So I forget who told me this, but I had this issue with sweets where I used to love sweets, right?
Mm.
Um, like chocolate specifically,
Mhm.
chocolate
Mhm.
fiend. Um, and to the point where I go to the grocery store, I'm grabbing that little candy bar on the way out, right?
Mm.
And one day somebody told me something. I forget what it was. I forget who told me this. Damn it! I'll just give you this the quote that helped me that
Mhm.
or reassure me and keep me in. I guess you could say keep me strong, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So as I'm walking past a candy bar and I get tempted, I say to myself, nothing outside of me can control me. Okay.
Mm. Ooh,
Nothing outside of me
that's
can control me.
fire.
I'm feeling this urge for sweets. Okay, I'll acknowledge that and I'll give the body what it's asking for, but it's gonna be a healthier form of sweets. So when I want something sweet instead of chocolate, I'll get some watermelon or I'll get
Yeah.
some, a
Ooh.
pear or peach or something that will satisfy that craving, but it's not gonna be something that's not the best for me that I know that, you know, it's not gonna help me reach my goals, right? And so,
Right.
yeah, I always say, and I don't know if it's like we talked about, we don't like nobody telling us what to do, right? So I don't know if it's that
Mm.
part of, okay, this thing is controlling me and it's telling me to eat it and I want to eat it. I'll say to
Mm.
myself, nothing outside of me can control me. And as soon as I say that, I'm good. I'm like, all right, like I'm not a second thought, not even a second thought,
Wow.
you know?
That's absolutely fire.
Yeah.
Nothing outside of me can control me. Y'all make sure y'all write that down. Y'all remember that because
Yeah.
that's the big deal,
Right.
right? Like, even going back to like the criticism that I talked about, somebody's opinion of me can't control me, can't control how I feel
Mhm.
about me, can't
Mhm.
control how I perceive me, can't control what I decide to do in my life. That's just an
Mhm.
example, And I think it makes us to realize that we are the creators of our reality. And I think that's a powerful conviction that would even support these energetic attachments, these addictions, these thought forms.
Mhm.
It helps us to be able to release these things and move away from them and separate and detach from them so
Mhm.
that we are
Mhm.
our own sovereign being, so that we
Right.
get to choose who
Mhm.
we're being and the life we are living. Thank you
Mhm.
so much for sharing that. I love, love, love that. Listen, two more questions for you.
Okay.
Two more questions. One, just tell the family or give the ladies something that you feel based off of your work, something that they can do right now to start healing at the soul level.
One thing that I always recommend is just doing journaling. A lot of like, because I think a lot of times we have so much stuff that we're holding up here that we
Mm,
just, it's so much that we, again, will suppress it and just be like, I'll get to that later.
mhm,
Whatever it might be, whether it be like things you're worried about, things that you need to do that you've been putting off, whatever it might be, right? So
mhm,
journaling a lot of time helps you get all that out of your head, put it on paper. Okay, this is what I'm concerned about right now. This is how I'm feeling.
mhm,
And then
mhm.
why am I feeling this way? Okay, this is why I'm feeling this way. Okay, let's take it a step deeper. Like, um, what does this say about me because I feel this way, or what beliefs am I tying to this thing, right? So
Mhm, mhm,
identifying what the beliefs are, identifying your emotions and how you feel, that a lot of times will help you kind of get to the root cause of why you're feeling the way you're feeling, right?
mhm.
It can help
Yeah,
you a lot of times identify those past experiences that might be connected to that as well.
yeah.
So
Mhm,
journaling is really big instead of like, like I said, just getting it all out, putting it all, just writing,
mhm,
writing, 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 writing. And then you can go back and look at it and say,
mhm,
why do I feel this way? You know,
mhm.
what is it? What is it? What beliefs do I have attached to that? What emotions are attached to that? That's the number one thing that I would recommend.
Yeah, I love that because it makes you come to the present moment,
Yeah.
right? And it allows you, because we are, as women, being receptive beings by nature, we're always picking up on stuff. We're always, you know, uh empathetic, right? We're just those light beings, especially spiritual women, women who are into this work and who are into growing, healing, and transforming. We are like, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
Mm-hmm.
And when we think about bugs to a flame, baby, everything and everybody wants and needs your attention when you are
Mm-hmm.
that divine, sacred being. And
Mm-hmm.
so I love that because journaling could literally help you to even understand what is you and what is not.
Mm-hmm. What belongs to you, what doesn't belong. I picked this up. This is a mind fragment for somebody else, someone who projected this onto me. That's not what I really that's not really me. That's not what I really want. Where'd that come
Yes.
from? Yeah.
Go deeper into that mind fragments. I thought I was going to be done. I think we need to hear more about those mind fragments because that is a big deal.
Yeah,
Talk
so
about that.
mind fragments is usually something related to, let's say, we talked about our parents earlier, right?
Mm,
Things that someone else might believe, or basically projection, someone else projecting their things on you. Um,
mm,
so sometimes we'll carry that and not knowing that we're carrying in somebody else's projection. That's the mind fragment, right?
mm, mm,
So we might feel like, I don't know, let me give an example. I have to always go out in a full face of makeup, right?
mm.
Why? Where'd that
Yeah,
come from?
yeah.
Because is it because I feel like I want to do that, or is it something that this person wanted me to do? I'll
I'm
give you an
picking
even
up.
better example.
Mm,
Um, I went through a stage a while back where I was like, um, my husband now, but
mhm,
who I was dating at the time was like, I don't, you don't have to wear all this makeup, da, da, da. When I met him, I was wearing makeup. I like wearing makeup. Oh, but you're beautiful without the makeup, right? Okay, I know. And me thinking, okay, he likes me without the makeup. Let me do it. Maybe I am doing a bit too much, and I stopped wearing makeup.
mm.
Was it because I didn't want to wear makeup? No, it was because I was kind of doing it for him, thinking that,
Mhm.
okay, I don't need it. I'm beautiful, da da da
Yeah,
da,
yeah.
right?
Mm, mm.
And for years, even
Barefaced.
barefaced. The
Yeah.
most it would be is a little lip gloss,
Mm,
maybe a little mascara sometimes, rare,
mm,
but it would
mhm,
be, nothing else. That was it. And
mm,
then, maybe a year, 2 years ago, I was like, this is getting me doing my work. It was like, why am I doing this? Like, and I realized I'm not doing this for me. I didn't volunteer to do this. This was just something I was doing because I thought I wanted to make him happy in a way. You know what I mean?
mm,
So it was
mm,
a projection of, you don't need this. Oh, I don't need this.
mm,
I'm beautiful without it.
mm,
Yeah, I know I'm beautiful without it, but
mm.
I want to wear it too. I want
Yeah,
to
I
wear
like
it,
that,
right?
right?
And
Yeah.
so, and I was, and when I came to that realization that it wasn't me, it wasn't something from me that I was carrying, it was a projection. I
Mm,
literally began like to weep. I started crying, like I'm weeping
mm.
because I was like, I've been doing this for myself for so long. I didn't have to do that.
Wow,
You didn't have to do
right.
that, you know?
Mm.
Um, and so, yeah, that is a perfect example of
I love
a mind
that.
fragment. Yeah.
That's so special. That's so powerful because it's like when we realize that some of these ideas we've picked up from other people, from media, from TV, from moms, especially now like Instagram and stuff. Oh my God, with their relationship bullshit, they think they know what a black man and a black woman is and how you gonna grow your business. I mean, it's information
Yeah.
overload,
Overload.
you know? And I had an experience recently where I had picked up on a mind fragment or a projection of how I was supposed to show up in business. I got to
Mm-hmm.
post reels multiple times a day. I got to keep going live on YouTube. It don't matter whether I have an idea or not. I have to keep doing this. And girl, it quickly became draining.
Yeah,
It
child.
quickly became unhealthy. And it was at that moment where I accepted the fact like No, that's not how my spirit, excuse me, that's not how my higher self desires for me to live and navigate through business.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not it. So picking up on those things and realize that, like you said, it can be so freeing and it can be emotional because you realize that you've created a whole life around something that was never yours, and now you can put it down.
Right.
Now you
Exactly.
can put it down. Now it doesn't have to be you,
Right.
and you can be your beautiful, vibrant
Right.
self. And I think that work continues.
Mm-hmm. There's layers. There's so many layers.
So many layers. People talk about the onion analogy, and we think we just like, oh yeah, we're all an onion with so many. That's real, y'all.
That is. Yeah.
That's real, y'all. And I think it's a continuous work. I think every new level we hit within our personal development and our spiritual growth, we realize another aspect of ourselves, another belief, another thought form or mind fragment that we've cultivated our lives around. And we
Mm-hmm.
didn't necessarily have to, but we were young, impressionable. And at the end of the day, we wanted to be loved. We wanted to be accepted. We wanted to be great. And we thought that that fragment was the way. To end this,
Mm-hmm.
I'm always ending the Sacred Sister Circle podcast with a song that I want you to choose. And when I post the video, I'm also going to share that song with the community. What is
Okay.
a song that just makes you feel connected to yourself, that makes you feel empowered, or that just raises your vibration? Because what we talked about earlier is that when you have that high vibration, these attachments, these energies, these thought forms cannot connect to you. Only the best is
Mm.
gravitated towards you. So what's a song that taps you deeper into your soul, that raises your vibration and makes you feel good?
There's a song that I always play just before my session.
Mm.
Janae Aiko, Frequency.
Frequency. That's perfect.
Yeah.
That is absolutely perfect. You
Yeah.
are really setting the precedence. You're setting the frequency, setting the vibration, setting the space for that session.
Mm-hmm.
That's your ritual. That's your ritual, setting them frequencies. I love
Mm-hmm.
that. I
Yep.
want to take a moment again to just say thank you for having this beautiful conversation with me. It's been amazing. I hope you enjoyed as much as I have. It's
I
4:44
did.
over here,
I
so that's
did.
beautiful.
Oh, nice. Love it. Love it. Love
4:44. Nice. Let the family know, let the sisters know where they can learn more about your services, book, and even just see you doing your work.
it. So my website is neoshihypno.com. You can find out more information there as well as book sessions there. At
Mm.
the moment, I'm completely booked until July 2023, so you won't be getting in any sooner than that. Um, and I say that because people always DM me like, "Can you get me in? Do you have anything sooner? You have a cancellation list?" I'm like, "No, I don't."
Mm. Go girl.
So yeah, trying to save me a few DMs, but you can also follow me on Instagram at Neoshi Hypno Soul Healing. Beware, there are quite a few scamming pages.
Right.
Quite a few of them. Don't get got. I do not DM people for sessions. I don't DM people for readings. I don't even do readings. So that
Mm.
should be a red flag right there. But yeah, watch out for the Instagram scammers. And then you can also find me on YouTube. I have over 200 videos of sessions with clients. Some of them sharing some of their past life stories and a little bit of their session. I call it the Netflix for YouTube for folks
Mm.
who haven't seen that work or who love that type of work. Over
Mhm.
200 videos, and people actually will binge watch them. So if that's your thing,
I do.
you'll find me at Neoshi Hypno on YouTube to see some of my
Yeah.
sessions as well. Yeah.
I'm going to share all of that in the description. I definitely was one of those people who binged so much of your stuff. And then that's
Yeah.
when I was convinced. I was like, babe, We have to have her on the show. It's so amazing.
Mhm.
So I love that. I thank you again so much, Neoshi. You are my sister. And welcome to the Sacred Sister Circle podcast. Thank you for blessing us with your purpose, with your passion, and with your insight and with your love.
Thank
And I look forward to us doing more. I'm thinking about doing a end of the year wrap up where I like bring all of the women on at one time. And of course, I'll facilitate it so everybody can be heard, right? And seen.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I'm thinking about bringing us all on at one time and enjoying each other. But I
Oh,
love you dearly. I'm so grateful. And thank you all for listening.
thank you
Okay.
for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you so
Of
much.
course. Of course.